Dr. Ebeling here with another episode of past life regression. This is my experience with one of my first past life regressions that I remembered without having to go to a therapist like myself. So one of the first remembrances that I have, usually I dip into the death scene. A lot of clients do that. They visit the death scene first when they do it on their own. But I like to guide people through the lifetime and then experience the ending of that life and the significance of that lifetime, what the lesson was in that lifetime. But in this particular life that I'm going to talk about today, it is a life that it wasn't very pleasant, or at least the ending wasn't very pleasant. I had a past life as an herbalist, a healer in a village in Germany. And I didn't realize it was in Germany at first because my death scene was that of being burned at the stake. I know. I was accused of being a witch because I was a healer. I was an herbalist and I had herbs hanging in my cottage. And back in the time where they were getting rid of all these witches and stuff and everybody was accused of being one, I happened to be part of that as well. So in that lifetime, I remember there was no pain. I was at the stake and burning. The only pain I felt or associated with that is watching my daughter watch me burn and the horrific look on her face. And I wanted her to know that I was not in any pain because my soul separated from the physical body. I was watching it happen from outside of myself, or my physical form, I should say. The physical body may endure pain, but when you have a choice, when you pass away or are about to die, to leave the body, and you will not experience any pain. And that's one of the lifetimes I figured that out. And I thought, oh my goodness, well, I live in America right now, so where did this happen at? And I started doing research about it, and I found out that the Salem witch trials were not burning witches at the stake. They were, sent to the gallows, being hung or tortured otherwise. But I did the research, and what came up in my research was quite amazing, and that is that they did the burnings over in Europe in Fulda and Munich, Germany. When I found this out, I about fell on the floor because when I was a little girl, my father was in the military, and one of the first overseas assignments that we had, it was in Fulda, Germany. And we lived on the outskirts of a little German village right by the forest. And I remember the forest. I remember foraging for healing plants in the forest. So when my neighbors at the time, in this lifetime, took us out to the forest to forage wild blueberries, the feelings that I had at that moment, and I didn't understand why it felt so familiar to me, because I didn't know anything about reincarnation or past life, anything. But while I was in the forest and I seen the lights coming, the sunlight coming through the branches of the pines, because it was very dense, very deep forest that we went into. And it just felt so natural to be there, felt so good. And it was when I did the research and I figured out where this was happening, and the aha moment that happened. I'm like, oh my gosh, I lived there in this lifetime too. You're going to see a lot of that when you do past life regression. I see a lot of people returning to the same places unintentionally. It just happens. If you get a feeling of longing to be somewhere that you've not been in this lifetime, there's a reason for that. And to remember that lifetime, remembering living in the outskirts and collecting and foraging in the forest to help heal others, that was amazing. And I remember that that's not what I was doing. I was not a witch, accused of being a witch. So it happened, but there was a lesson learned in that, and that is that plant medicine is extremely important in this day and time. We're going back to the basics, and these plants are available all over the place. One of the biggest plants that I forage every year is called wild lettuce, and wild lettuce is kind of like a sedative, pain reliever. They compare it to opium, which it's a non-narcotic though. It's just a plant. And I forage this every year because it grows in abundance in my backyard, through the neighborhood. We just go and collect all of that, dry it, or clean it, rinse it, dry it, and then we put it in containers to be used for later teas and whatnot. But the wild lettuce, it looks like a really tall, huge dandelion, and it has these big, huge dandelion plumes or whatever you want to call them on them. But you want to catch it before it gets to that stage. There's different ways to prepare it, but I prefer putting it in my teas, and it tastes so nasty. It's got a milky substance in it, but if you experience pain in your life, in your back or anywhere, this wild lettuce tea I highly recommend it because it does allow for a sedative effect. And you'll sleep well. If you have, insomnia, this is also good. Um, if you drink enough of it, of course, there's a little bit of euphoria effect in it, but I've never stayed awake long enough to experience that. But it works really well. The pain gone, and the next day I'm, wake and fresh. But I usually mix it with another herbal tea that tastes good, and adding natural sweeteners, sweet tea leaves, and whatever you have at your disposal. But definitely highly recommend it. There are other plant medicines too. And I'm actually going through a course right now to earn my master herbalist certification, so I can help me remember what I have done before. So in that past life, I'm bringing all that information forward. I'm remembering where to look for things, and I'm remembering how to use things that I would not know in this lifetime because I've never experienced it. So the importance of bringing past lives forward is to tap into the best aspects of it and bring it forward, and just make it available in your mind now. Um, I've had really contrast lifetimes too. A lot of my clients too. And contrast is important because we get to experience, well, people would say, oh, I was a bad person in this life. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as a lesson, a very much needed lesson for our own spiritual growth. And I'm going to start sharing different past life regressions with permission from my clients. I have a client coming in today to do a regression with me. As a returning client. Very, very deep wisdom that comes out with this gentleman, and I hope to be able to share it. So that may be the next episode, is just the audio of that session. So stay tuned. If you want to know more about past life regression, just follow my channel and drop a question in the comments if you need an answer, and I'll try to answer those in another episode coming up. So I hope you guys are having an amazing Easter. That's what today is. Staying home, staying safe. I'm not going to go into coronavirus. It's not really, not even going to go there. I just want you to know I love you, and I hope and pray that your day goes amazingly well. And if not, you have the ability to change it right now. So namaste, and I'll see you on the next episode.